News on the FBI's decision to reopen its search for documents on that secret meeting between former Attorney General Loretta Lynch and former President Bill Clinton last year. The department initially claimed there were no documents that existed on the meeting. Well, the American Center for Law and Justice knew that wasn't true, demanded some answers. They've gotten hundreds of pages of emails, and they've made some interesting discoveries. Jordan Seculo is an attorney for the group behind the request for information from the FBI. Good morning, Jordan.
Good morning, Shannon.
All right, I understand that you have uncovered something that may link back to now Special Counsel Robert Mueller. Tell us about that.
That's right. So we've been going through these 413 initial pages that were delivered by the Department of Justice, because the Department of Justice actually did say that they had records when we took them to court and sent them over these 413 pages a couple of weeks ago. So we've been kind of going by them line by line, individual by named individual, and we found yesterday one of our attorneys was going through this, younger attorneys was going through this, and he found that one of the names that was not redacted by the FBI but was an FBI press official who received an email from the Washington Post about whether the FBI agents and Bill Clinton's security detail, President Clinton's detail, coordinated the meeting between Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton on the tarmac in Phoenix. The press official contacted at the Department of at the FBI, at the Department of Justice, is now the head of press for Robert Mueller's special counsel team. His name is Peter Carr. So Peter Carr was directly involved in the Loretta Lynch, Bill Clinton tarmac meeting response and press response, and now he's leading the press team for the special counsel investigating the Trump campaign in Russia.
And my understanding is, a lot of these are redacted. I think the one involving him may have been redacted as well. Were you able to glean any other information? I mean, besides his name, I know that you guys are going to go back to court to fight to uncover what a lot of these redactions are.
Yeah, I mean, right now, this is what it looks like where we've got Peter Carr's name. And so it's basically just we know that he received this request and received this information, Shannon. The next step is then getting to what was his response. How did he respond? And remember, all we got, Shannon, were email documents, 413 pages of email documents. There are also, we know that Jim Comey's FBI and Department of Justice, they love making memos. Not all of those are protected by privilege. And so we're actually in discussions now with the Department of Justice and the FBI, since they've now had a come to Jesus moment on reopening their FOIA investigation and search for documents. So we're now in conversations now. We hope we don't have to take them to court, but we might just have to get these documents.
Yeah, so you've been notified by the FBI that, yeah, they're going to reopen this and look.
Right.
How much more do you expect to get at this point?
Well, I mean, if the Department of Justice could produce about 400, even with some redactions, and that's not, we don't think, everything, I believe that the FBI, there's enough people named on these emails from the FBI, to and from the FBI, press shops and agents, that you could, and redacted FBI. There's a lot of FBI redactions in these, so they were really looking through this on their own. We got, by the way, that reopening, Shannon, a week after we broke the news that the DOJ had given us the FOIA. So they weren't acting in good faith, but we're going to treat it now as a situation where they say they're going to cooperate. I expect hundreds of more documents.
All right, I want to ask you about something else, because you all were key in this fight with the IRS over the last few years, finding out that they were targeting conservative groups, refusing to give them their tax-exempt status, and that blew up into congressional hearings and all kinds of other things. And now we get this report from the Inspector General for the IRS saying between January 2015 and March 2016, so President Obama would have been in office, IRS Commissioner Koskinen, who's still there despite a fight to get rid of him, that during that time they rehired 213 IRS employees, some of them let go for theft, others for unauthorized access to personal taxpayer info, all kinds of bad behavior. And apparently the IRS hiring managers do not have access to the applicant's employment history with the IRS. So a bunch of these people didn't even tell the IRS they had been fired by the agency when they reapplied and were rehired.
This is the problem, Shannon. We talk about draining the swamp. It's not just elected officials, it's these unelected bureaucrats, people like Koskinen, who thankfully are done in November. I mean, I'll be glad to see him go. We're still in court with the IRS. We've got all the groups cleared, but this is an agency that is, we believe, maybe incapable of self-correcting that you may have to do away with completely. It's so corrupt, it's so bad, poorly run, and it's just such a mess that you need a complete overhaul. Now, that would take Congress and President Trump working together, but this should be one of those examples of bipartisan support. People who are doing things that are illegal on their taxes, getting fired by the IRS, should not be able to get rehired. And of all places, you would think the IRS would have their information on their own employees.
All right. Jordan Zecchio, many updates to come from these two stories, so please keep us updated with them as they roll in. Good to see you.